Good day, students. We are so excited to welcome you to Northwest University. The Center of Teaching and Learning, better known as CTL, is a teaching and learning support department of Northwest University. CTL includes Student Academic Development Support Unit, better known as SAT. At SAT, we recognize that students have individual teaching and learning needs. SAT therefore offers various support opportunities that are geared towards helping you achieve your specific academic goals. You will learn more about these support opportunities later during this week and other upcoming presentations. The colleagues presenting with me today is Mr. Jean-Paul Verlieu, Academic Advisor on Vanderbilt campus, Ms. Kidu Lipo, Academic Advisor on the Potchefstroom campus, together with Ms. Renette Kumur as Academic Advisor on Potch campus, and lastly, myself, Mr. Laki Bukhatsu, on the Mafikeng campus. Bye.
Dear students, again, we are so excited to welcome you to the Northwest University. The purpose of this presentation is to introduce you to higher education. Understanding the expectations associated with higher education will encourage your engagement and self-directedness as a learner and enable you to develop the knowledge, skills, and personal qualities that will prepare you for the current and future world. We will reflect on the transition porches from high school to higher education and what it entails. We will learn what is meant to be a self-directed learner, getting to understand Bloom's taxonomy, and lastly, have a look at how your modules within higher education are designed. The outcomes for this presentation are as follows. This presentation will allow you to reflect on the transition porches from high school to higher education and what it entails, to learn what it means to be a self-directed learner, understand Bloom's taxonomy in terms of action verbs and how it is used at Northwest University, and lastly, understand how modules are designed with a reference to study guides, learning outcomes, as well as credits, and how these can be utilized to better academic success.
You are in a different space with different rules and expectations from yourselves and the university alike in order for you to successfully complete the mission you are on, getting a qualification from an institution of higher learning. With that being said, let's delve into a few differences that exist between high school and university. Reading in high school is for the purpose of literature, whereas in university, reading becomes an essential skill that will be utilized daily and in every facet or module. Writing in university requires critical thinking and creating new knowledge. This also applies to note-taking. You need to identify the important parts during the lecture, unlike in high school where you would summarize what is given to you by the teacher and copy notes from the board. When undergoing research, students use scholarly writing and not Google or Wikipedia. Learners in high school, for instance, follow prompts, whereas university students need to be self-directed students who take charge of their learning. The responsibility of setting your own priorities now rests on the student and not their teachers and parents as it was in high school. In high school, teachers would be the ones to approach the learners for assistance in explaining concepts that may be misunderstood. In university, however, lecturers have consultations that require the students to take the initiative to see the lecturer to explain concepts or provide assistance. University modules are linked according to the qualification chosen and usually are prerequisites for the next level of that qualification for the following year, unlike school subjects that were separate units.
We are now going to talk about a term that might be new to a lot of you, and that is the concept of self-directed learning. The definition of self-directed learning, or better known as SDL, states that self-directed learning describes a process in which individuals take the initiative, with or without the help of others, in diagnosing their own learning needs, formulating learning goals, identifying human and material resources for learning, choosing and implementing appropriate learning strategies, and then evaluating learning outcomes. At Northwest University, we strive to develop our students towards self-directedness, which results in the student taking responsibility for his or her own learning. This means that at university, you need to learn how to stand on your own 2 feet. You need to accept that it is nobody's responsibility to remind you of anything that you need to do or submit, and that only you are responsible for your academic progress and development. At Northwest University, students are responsible for their own academic success by being self-directed and making use of all the available resources to achieve their academic goals. These resources may include your study guides, your class notes, the Ifundi sites, recordings and readings shared by your lecturer, resources available in the library, as well as any other student support programs available in your modules. Higher education also expects from us as students to think at a higher level. Like my colleague said, higher education learning differs quite a lot from learning in high school. An easy way to explain the different levels of thinking that will be required of you, we are going to have a closer look at Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy indicates the levels of thinking and what action verbs is used to test what. It is important for you as a student to know what is expected of you when a specific action verb is used in a question or an assignment. In grade 12, your learning focused mostly around being able to remember and understand the content of your different subjects. For this reason, in tests and exams, you most likely dealt with questions assessing these levels of thinking. For example, questions starting with define, list, or state, or questions starting with describe or discuss. Although you will still be assessed on these levels of thinking in higher education, you have to understand that you will also be expected to illustrate higher levels of thinking, like applying the content, what is learned in discipline-specific scenarios, analyzing case studies, evaluating, and even creating new knowledge or designs. You will find definitions and explanations of frequently used action verbs in each of your module's study guides. Take notes of these when preparing for any assignment, test, or exam.
To be successful at university, you need to be able to understand the language used when describing your programs, courses, and modules. For example, a module is an identifiable learning component of the formal curriculum in a program or qualification, comprising a number of credits. In the following slides, we will be discussing the different aspects of your modules and how you can learn to understand them better. Your study guide is your best friend while you are adapting to things at the Northwest University. It has all the essential module information that you will need in order to be successful in your studies. This includes the prescribed reading that you will need to do for each study unit and study section, the number of credits that has been allocated to each study unit and study section, the outcomes for the module and each study unit and study section. Pay attention to these as they provide clear guidelines for what you will need to be able to do. An explanation of the action verbs, an explanation of how marks will be calculated. This is often in the form of a rubric that you can use to check that your work is in line with what the lecturer has in mind. How the module will be presented in terms of study units and study sections, and when assignments and projects will need to be submitted. Additional references, reading material, and exercises for each study unit, and any additional tips from the lecturer can also be found in your study guide. If there is any aspect of your study guide that you do not understand or want to clarify, please ask your lecturer. This brings us to learning outcomes. Learning The learning outcomes of your module, study units, and study sections are what you need to be able to do on completion of that module, unit, or section. These provide concrete ways in which you can measure your progress in a module. These are stated at the start of each study unit or study section along the lines of, at the end of this study unit, you should be able to do A, B, C, etc. When you are working through a module, unit, or section, making your notes and doing your assignments, it is good practice to turn each of these study outcomes into a question and try to answer that question using what you have learned in the module and applying this knowledge in practice or to your own life. By doing this, it will also help you to identify the most relevant and important information to focus on when studying for your exams or working through a 1,000-page textbook. By starting to do this as early as possible in the semester, you will be able to make things much easier for yourself in your assignments and examinations at the end of the semester. Now for an explanation on module credits. Module credits are about time management. This is the amount of time that you need to spend on each task, study section, study unit, and the module as a whole. And this is indicated in your study guide. In each study unit and study section, all of your programs have a certain number of credits that you need to attain in order to complete that program, as indicated in the grid on this slide. These credits are the total amount of all the credits for all your modules that you need to complete to get your qualification. Each module's credits indicates the specific weight of that module within your qualification program. This means that the higher the credits of a module, the more important that module will be for your qualification. These credits also indicate the amount of time, on average, that you should be investing into your module in order to complete that module successfully. The module credits are more or less equally distributed over the duration of your qualification between your study units and between semesters and from year to year. This information can be found in your yearbook and also in your study guide, which will be an indication of how each study unit is weighted in terms of credits. Now, let's do some math. When you are talking about credits, we are also talking about the notional hours that you need to invest into your module. This includes time spent preparing for class, time in class, time spent working on assignments, time spent studying on your own, making notes, studying for tests, writing exams, and all of these form part of the notional hours of a module. So a full-time degree program is on average around 120 credits per year. This means that the average amount of time that you will need to invest is around 1,200 hours for that year. These 1,200 hours, roughly divided by 40 academic weeks for the year, brings us to an average of 30 hours per week that you need to spend on your studies in order to complete your degree successfully. For this reason, planning ahead and organizing your time effectively will be absolutely essential to your success at the Northwest University.
Please make sure to visit our webpage to get in contact with any of our academic advisors or to get more information about the student academic development and support programs that we offer. You are also welcome to ask for the links to the different resources referred to in this presentation if you want to read up a bit more about each of these.
I think the major difference between school and university is that in school, your time and your schedule was structured and monitored by your family and your teachers. However, in university, you need to know that you will be the one to create a schedule and to stick to it.
At school, you relied on your teachers to help you with academic activities and also to determine what your responsibilities are. But here in university, you need to decide on your own what your priorities are and choose any activities that you want to partake in. And lastly, you need to take full responsibility of your studies.
Going to school is very different from university. When you go to school, you have a scheduled time and attend class one after the other. But it's very important for you to realize that in university, if you work remotely, it is important to make time to keep up. If you have classes on campus, you often have free spaces between classes, and it is up to you on how you make the time.
What I remember from school is teachers used to write on boards, and we would write exactly what they wrote, and that was our notes. However, lecturers do expect students to be able to take notes and decide from themselves what is important. They do take into account the study guides. The study guides have specific outcomes in each module, so you will know exactly what you need to do and exactly what you need to learn. But note-taking is crucial. Whenever you are in a class and you have a face-to-face contact with your lecturer, do write notes. Trust me, it is important.
I remember in school, I only had to listen attentively in class, and it was enough. Whenever I had to read something, it will be short sections that were already discussed and explained in class by my teachers, which means I was just doing a short revision. But I realized coming to varsity, it is very important to acquire the skill of writing, because I have to read chapters in my textbooks, and there's content that I have to go through on my own because they will not be discussed in the classroom. Reading and writing are really skills that you can develop, and the Northwest University is providing the support for you to do so. One significant difference between school and university is that at school, the teachers, they provided the knowledge and facts, and to some extent, they will really guide the learners through the thinking process. But now at university, things are totally different because the lecturers are expecting students to think critically, to make applications, and to gather relevant information so that we can solve problems. It sounds like it's a long list, but really don't worry, because it is the most exciting aspect of university. And now I'm thinking about when I was doing my first year, I'm realizing that my lecturers provided the guidance so that I start thinking about what I'm learning, and I question the concepts independently. But also remember, the university environment gives you the opportunity to apply what you are learning.